Almost 20 years ago to this exact day, the first World Baseball Classic was set to take place when baseball was withdrawn from the Olympics. Many baseball fans and players initially responded with skepticism, but 10 years after the fact, everyone wanted a piece of WBC action. The globe finally understood its significance, culminating in arguably the greatest tournament of baseball ever played. With the 2026 World Baseball Classic right around the corner, I wanted to take the time today to talk about my personal favorite WBC tournament, that being the 2017 edition. A bracket laden with unlikely heroes, high-scoring affairs, infectious personalities, and iconic plays. It featured a dominant band of blonde-haired bandits, a Cinderella run from a newcomer, and a pair of red, white, and blue teams with a lot to prove. And in the years since, I don't think the quality of this tournament has been beaten, so let's dive into everything that went down. Also, please ignore the carnage behind me. I just moved, and I'd rather talk about baseball than unpack my life. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Today's video is brought to you by SeatGeek. Our tournament begins in South Korea, where Seoul hosts WBC games for the first time ever. Our first team is the newcomer that I mentioned before, Team Israel, appearing in their first WBC tournament with a roster full of baseball nerd favorites. A lineup anchored by the likes of Ike Davis and Danny Valencia, Israel opens the tournament with an upset 2-1 victory over heavily favored South Korea. The pitching is steered by Jason Marquis, originally the number 2 pitcher in the staff behind Scott Feldman, who would withdraw from tournament play late. Marquis tossed 3 scoreless frames as the new ace, and he did this after not having pitched in an MLB game in 2 years to that point. Israel parlays this win into a rout of Taiwan, scoring 15 runs to move to 2-0. One of the players that powered the offense in this game was Ty Kelly with his 3 hits. Now you might be thinking, who the heck is Ty Kelly? But if you really know ball, you're thinking, Ty Kelly, the guy who got a hit off Madison Bumgarner playoff game? I know that guy. In the blink of an eye, a tournament afterthought had already secured its spot in the final 8, meaning 2 of the remaining 3 teams in Pool A were going to be knocked out before the next round. One of the teams vying to avoid that distinction was the Netherlands, and they'd get some offensive firepower from a tournament newcomer. In his first tournament and second game overall, Didi Gregorius hit 3 doubles for the Netherlands against Taiwan, including a game-tying knock in the 8th inning. Still, the pool favorites found themselves down 5-4 late in this game, but a rally for a run in the 9th inning led to a comeback win against Taiwan, capped off by Jurickson Profar's walk-off walk. After finishing tied for 3rd in the 2013 World Baseball Classic, the Netherlands swiftly advanced to the next round by winning their first 2 games. But their bid for a top seed would vanish when they became the latest victim of an upstart Israel team. The underdog shocked the baseball world once again by defeating the Netherlands 4-2 to claim top seed in Pool A, going 3-0 in their first bout of WBC play. The MVP of this pool, Ryan Lavarnway, a career journeyman catcher at the big league level, who instead takes on the role of bona fide star for Israel. He goes 5 for 9 with 4 walks and a home run in pool play. While Israel would go 3-0 in their pool, I wouldn't say that they dominated. The same story can't be applied to Pool B, where there was one team that was clearly head and shoulders above everybody else. We now head to the Tokyo Dome, where Pool B opens with a rematch of the 2006 World Baseball Classic final, Japan versus Cuba. Japan, reeling from their first ever tournament loss in 2013, would go on to score 11 runs in their first contest, emphasized by a home run and 3 runs batted in from Yoshi Satsugo, who would win Pool MVP honors and debut in MLB in 3 years' time. Or as my good friend Dalton Philly would say,
Yoshi Satsugo!
Japan didn't waste any time in this initial pool, quickly jumping out to a 2-0 record. Tomoyuki Sagano, who's gonna try his best for the Rockies this year, as well as Kodai Senga, combined for 6 2/3 innings and 0 earned runs in a clean 4-1 victory for Japan over Australia. After a lopsided win against China, Japan clinched the top seed in Pool B with their first ever 3-0 performance in WBC pool play. Now we head over to the other side of the globe. In Miami, arguably the most impressive pool of the first round begins play. Fresh off an undefeated run to a dominant 2013 World Baseball Classic victory, the Dominican Republic are the first team to take center stage. In their title defense, they've put together maybe their best roster ever. In the lineup, reigning WBC MVP Robinson Cano, 2-time home run king Jose Bautista, and future $300 million man Manny Machado. The potent lineup batters around Ryan Dempster, who returned from a 3-year retirement to try and help Team Canada's pitching staff. Jose Bautista, returning to the WBC for the first time since 2009, crushes a 3-run home run off Dempster to back Carlos Martinez's solid start, sealing an easy 9-2 win to open pool play for the DR. While the first game was lopsided, the second game provided a more compelling matchup, spotlighting a country making their WBC debut in Colombia. Colombia's roster wasn't exactly fearsome, but it was highlighted by a pair of reliable starters in Julio Teheran on and the starter of their first game, Jose Quintana. The Southpaw went up against a potent United States lineup, but held them hitless through 5+ innings. This would go on to become Quintana's only start of the tournament, and it's arguably the best outing of any pitcher in this tournament. In 2026, he was named captain of Team Colombia for the WBC. On the other side, though, Chris Archer is starting for the US, and he hurls 4 hitless innings of his own. The game heads to extra innings tied at 2 runs apiece, where the American offense showed their supremacy.
Adam Jones delivers, and the U.S. walks it off to open pool play in Miami.
The US barely scraped by an inferior Colombian roster, but they would need their stars to perform like stars in their next bout. The perception of the US in this tournament was very interesting. The US had never made it to final bracket, but this roster featured 5 different MVP winners of the past and present, those being Buster Posey, Christian Yelich, Paul Goldschmidt, Giancarlo Stanton, and Andrew McCutchen, all in the same lineup. Their next game, though, would come against a formidable foe with plenty of home field advantage. In a sold-out crowd, all rooting for the Dominican Republic, the United States sprinted ahead to a commanding 5-0 lead. While the offense was proven, the pitching staff was less so. That's why Marcus Stroman, the de facto ace, needed to step up to the challenge. He would go on to hurl 4 2/3 innings of scoreless baseball against a deep DR lineup, while the American lineup got run-scoring hits from Adam Jones, Christian Yelich, Brandon Crawford, and Giancarlo Stanton. In his first World Baseball Classic tournament, Manny Machado would resurrect the Dominican Republic crowd with a mammoth home run against Tanner Roark that nearly banged off the glass in the back of Miami Stadium. But even with this thunderous blast, the US was still 6 outs away from a key victory, with their most talented pitcher entering the game. In stepped Andrew Miller, coming off a season where he pitched to a 1.45 ERA in 70 games, but he was not the same level of dominant in this tournament. He surrendered a hit by pitch and a single, setting up a dramatic at-bat against Nelson Cruz.
This will be the batter. Nelson Cruz, well hit to left. That one's got a chance, and it's gone!
To illustrate how important the WBC is, Nelson Cruz, who hit 464 home runs in his career, plus 18 home runs in the postseason, said that this was the most significant home run of his career, and it's easy to see why. Jerry's Familia would go on to pitch a clean 9th, securing a massive comeback victory that kept DR undefeated. When Colombia would defeat Canada in the next game for their first ever WBC victory, this put a star-studded US team on the brink of elimination in the first round yet again. If Colombia could beat the Dominican Republic, they would advance. DR nursed a 1-run lead throughout this game, highlighted by some amazing defensive plays from Manny Machado, as well as his run batted in and runs scored. Very early on, he was building a stacked MVP resume, and unsurprisingly, he'd take home pool MVP honors when the first round wrapped up in Miami. With Colombia down 3-2 in the 8th inning, up stepped young catcher Jorge Alfaro looking to make a name for himself. He would put Colombia on his back, taking 41-year-old Fernando Rodney deep to tie the game late. With Oscar Mercado at third base in the 9th inning, Colombia had a chance to pull off a seismic upset. Colombia got the fly ball it needed, but it went to the wrong man, that man being Jose Bautista in left field, who unleashed a cannon of an arm to prevent a walk-off 9th inning sacrifice fly, forcing the game into extra innings.
The throw to the plate. Mercado's out, and we're going to extra innings!
The Dominican Republic would go on to score 7 runs in the 11th inning to clinch a 10-3 win, the 11th straight victory in WBC play for the DR. With Colombia's loss, the US battered around Canada for an 8-0 win, powered by home runs from Nolan Arenado and Buster Posey. The US survived pool play by the skin of their teeth and advanced, and Colombia was left in dismay at what could have been if not for a heroic play from Jose Bautista. Before we continue with today's World Baseball Classic retrospective, I gotta thank SeatGeek for sponsoring today's Jolly Olive video. It's getting warmer out, and you know what that means. Spring training and World Baseball Classic games are set to be underway, not to mention NBA, NHL, all that action happening as well. If you want to watch these games, you're going to need tickets, and the number one place to get those tickets is SeatGeek, the number one rated ticketing app on planet Earth with over 35 million downloads worldwide. It's no secret why. SeatGeek's app is incredibly easy to download and use, so you can get started today with promo code JOHNBOY10. When you use that promo code JOHNBOY10, you'll get 10% off your next order, whether you're a first-time customer or a long-time customer like myself. No matter what you're trying to see, whether it be sporting events, theater, concerts, anything you can think of, SeatGeek has tickets, so download their app today and get those tickets in your pocket now with promo code JOHNBOY10. And thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the tournament action. That takes us to our final pool in South America, specifically in Guadalajara. In a very exciting opening matchup, Felix Hernandez of Venezuela duels Seth Lugo of Puerto Rico to open Pool D. The former would be knocked out in a long third inning, while Seth Lugo cruised to a scoreless quality start. Puerto Rico, powered by home runs from Yadier Molina, Carlos Correa, and TJ Rivera, invoked the first mercy rule victory of the tournament, winning 11-0 in 7 innings. And this was just the first of several dominant victories for this Puerto Rican team, arguably the greatest roster that PR has ever assembled. Manning the infield was a dynamic trio of 20-somethings in Francisco Lindor, Javier Baez, and Carlos Correa, all future stars of the game. Yadier Molina was the de facto clubhouse leader behind the dish. Tournament staples in the outfield like Angel Pagan and Carlos Beltran. They also rostered arguably the best reliever in the entire tournament, with electric closer Edwin Diaz at the back end. It became clear early on that Puerto Rico was going to dismantle anyone in their path. Francisco Lindor kept Puerto Rico rolling in their second contest with a first inning 2-run homer against Miguel Gonzalez and Team Mexico, the first of 2 on the night for the young shortstop. In a tight 1-run game late, Javier Baez's 3-run blast against Joaquim Soria iced the game, improving Puerto Rico to 2-0 with 20 runs scored in 2 games. Tied 3-3 with Italy in the early goings of their third match, Puerto Rico put together another offensive onslaught. This time it was Carlos Correa with a 3-run bomb against Jordan Romano to open the game up in the 5th inning, as Puerto Rico put together another 9-run rout to sweep their pool. Puerto Rico stood head and shoulders above the rest of their pool, much like Japan did in Pool B, but the remaining 3 teams would fight tooth and nail for the last remaining advancement. Team Mexico, reeling from their defeat, still boasted a good roster, highlighted by team captain Adrian Gonzalez and Alex Verdugo offensively, but they wouldn't get a good start from their staff ace Giovanni Gallardo, who gets rocked for 4 runs in 4 innings against Italy, capped off by a Chris Colabello 2-run blast. Team Italy is coming off a Cinderella run in the 2013 World Baseball Classic, where they advanced to the second round for the first time thanks to a comeback win against this very same team. That team was led by Anthony Rizzo, but this time he's nowhere to be found. And Mexico brings its own offensive firepower, going up 9-5 in the 7th inning with a 13-hit onslaught. Closer Roberto Ozuna couldn't retire any of the 5 hitters he faced in the 9th inning with a 4-run lead. Oliver Perez came in to try and put out the fire, but allowed a game-tying single to Brandon Nimmo, paving the way for a walk-off knock for John Andrioli, capping off a dramatic 5-run rally and improbable 10-9 win for Italy. For the second straight tournament, the Italians stunned Mexico. Italy maintains their momentum against Venezuela in their subsequent game, leaping ahead 5-0 in the 4th inning, punctuating their lead with a Brandon Nimmo solo home run, his first of World Baseball Classic play. But Italy's kryptonite would be their pitching staff, as they would surrender 8 unanswered runs. Tied 8-8 late, Salvador Perez seemingly hit the game-ending 2-run homer against closer Pat Venditti to put Venezuela ahead 10-8. But Venezuela's closer, Francisco Rodriguez, can't get it done either. With 2 outs and nobody on in a 1-run game in the 9th, K-Rod issues a single, a walk, and then a run-scoring hit, tying up the game at 10 apiece. Italy's thin bullpen once again shows cracks in the armor, as Martin Prado's 5th hit of the night, a run-scoring double, would be the game winner, sealing a chaotic 11-10 victory for Venezuela when minor league prospect Jose Castillo secured a 1-2-3 10th inning save. By the end of the pool, these 2 teams would meet again for a chance to advance, though their second game would be a lot less high scoring. Italy once again entered the 9th inning with a lead, but their bullpen could not hold. Former MVP winner Miguel Cabrera led off the inning with a game-tying solo home run, an iconic moment in what was his 4th straight WBC tournament. To this date, he's the only player to play in 5 different World Baseball Classic tournaments as he returned for the 2023 edition for Venezuela. After tacking on 2 more runs, Venezuela secured a 4-3 win, with K-Rod redeeming himself to help his club advance from pools. After the absolute bloodbath that was Pool D, the second round was officially set with only 8 teams remaining. Now we go back to the Tokyo Dome, where the story that kicked off the tournament continues to write new pages. Team Israel continues its run of upset wins to open Elite 8 play, defeating Cuba 4-1. Once again, it's veteran ace Jason Marquis who throws 5 2/3 innings of 1-run ball in this game. Israel improves to 4-0 in their first ever WBC appearance, hits. And Marquis finishes his WBC tournament play with 9 2/3 innings and just 1 earned run allowed at age 38. Unfortunately for Israel, this section of the bracket would be run by the two teams who played next, Japan and the Netherlands. The two countries mirrored each other through 3 innings, each scoring 5 runs apiece. Jonathan Scope hit his first home run of the tournament. With a chance to take the lead, Kodai Senga retired the heart of the Netherlands order with multiple runners in scoring position in the 6th inning. With 1 out remaining, still down by a run in the 9th inning, Jonathan Scope ties the game with a run-scoring single, setting up extra innings yet again. In the 11th inning, first baseman Sho Nakata singles home a pair of runs to complete a 3-hit, 5 RBI performance, eventually leading Japan to a dramatic 8-6 victory to keep them undefeated. Japan takes care of Cuba in the next game and finishes another pool 3-0 by ending Israel's run, as Kodai Senga tosses 5 scoreless innings with only 1 hit allowed. Their offense was powered by yet another Yoshi Satsugo home run. For the Netherlands, the path to the next round is simple. They'll need to demolish Israel and Cuba, and they do just that with 26 runs and 2 lopsided wins. Israel's Cinderella run ends in unceremonious fashion, but I do want to highlight pitcher Josh Zeid, who after last throwing a pitch in MLB 3 years prior, twirled 10 scoreless innings with only 5 hits allowed and 2 saves. Without his surprise dominance alongside Jason Marquis, Israel likely never even makes it this far. Now let's head back over to the States in San Diego, where the other half of the Final 8 appears far more powerful. The first game of our second semifinal pool, a 2013 WBC Championship rematch between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. The fireworks start immediately. Early on, Puerto Rico's defense shines, with an outfield assist double play from Eddie Rosario in the first inning to prevent a key run. Later on, Yadier Molina guns down Nelson Cruz, and Javier Baez points at him before the throw even reaches his glove. Speaking of Yadier Molina, he would ice the game with a solo home run in the 6th inning, as the Puerto Rico bullpen, highlighted by Edwin Diaz, combines for 5 scoreless innings of relief. Puerto Rico hands the Dominican Republic their first WBC loss since 2009, ending their 11-game win streak and keeping Puerto Rico undefeated. In a US-Venezuela contest, Drew Smiley takes the bump for America and strikes out 8 batters in just 4 2/3 innings of work. However, the American offense was quiet yet again, and US found themselves down 2-0 in the 7th inning. Felix Hernandez bounced back after a rough start in the previous pool with 5 scoreless frames and just 3 hits allowed. But playing in his home city, San Diego native Adam Jones goes deep against Hector Rondon to tie things up in the 8th inning. Eric Hosmer follows suit with a long ball of his own to put the US ahead late.
Yelich runs. Hosmer swings and sends a ball to deep right and out of here.
Luke Gregerson notches his first save of the tournament, securing a crucial opening win for the US. Without this comeback win against Venezuela, they were almost surefire to not advance from the second round. Speaking of a rebound, the Dominican Republic bounces back from their first loss since 2009 with a dazzling shutout performance against Venezuela. Edinson Volquez twirls 4 1/3 scoreless innings, and the Dominican bullpen, led by Dylan Betances and Jerry's Familia, holds Venezuela scoreless for the other 14 outs. This was a pretty impressive Venezuelan lineup that got held down. It featured Carlos Gonzalez, Jose Altuve, Victor Martinez, and Miguel Cabrera, but they mustered just 4 runs in 3 games in the second round to go 0-3 in the semifinal pool. Puerto Rico continues its offensive supremacy with 6 straight singles and 4 runs to kick things off against Marcus Stroman and the US. Trailing 4-0, home runs from Buster Posey and Adam Jones helped the US climb back into this game to make it 4-3, but then an uncharacteristic throwing error from Nolan Arenado in the 6th inning became the difference in the game. Yeah, when you think of this 2017 US team, you probably don't think of Nolan Arenado because he had a really rough tournament, leading all players in strikeouts with the lowest qualified OPS of any hitter, not to mention this very costly error. Though Edwin Diaz would surrender those 2 unearned runs back in the 9th inning, he struck out Josh Harrison to keep Puerto Rico undefeated with a final score of 6-5. Puerto Rico becomes the 3rd team in the tournament to enter the championship bracket with a 3-0 pool finish, sending the US to yet another do-or-die game, this time against a formidable foe in the Dominican Republic. The last time these two teams met in the tournament, it was absolute cinema, though US was trying to erase the bad taste of a blown lead from their mouth. Tied at 2 in the 4th inning, Giancarlo Stanton finally makes a name for himself in tournament play. With a mammoth 2-run home run off Irvin Santana to put the US ahead. In the 7th inning, a would-be game-tying home run from Manny Machado turned into arguably the most iconic play in WBC history.
Jones still on the move, running out of room, and he makes the catch!
Tournament standout Adam Jones leapt high above the center field wall at Petco Park to bring the ball back for an elite robbery. The U.S. kept the momentum as the final 8 Dominican hitters were retired all in order. The U.S. wins this game 6-3, advancing to the Final Four for just the second time in WBC history, sending the Dominican Republic home packing. After going 8-0 in 2013 and sweeping their first pool, a consensus top 2 team in the tournament failed to make the championship round to defend their title. With 4 teams remaining, we head to Los Angeles to crown a winner. The championship round opens with a dominant Puerto Rico squad taking on an upstart Netherlands team, and for the latter, a pair of costly mental lapses might have changed their fortunes altogether. Vladimir Ballantyne hits his tournament-leading 4th home run to open up a 2-0 lead for the Netherlands, but it probably should have been more. 2 base runners were erased when Andrelton Simmons was picked off second base from catcher Yadier Molina, and Jurickson Profar was picked off first base while celebrating. Just going to show how important Yadier Molina was to this Puerto Rico team. Those 2 runs could have been the difference in this game, as Carlos Correa quickly ties things up in the bottom half of the inning with a 2-run homer. And who's going to put Puerto Rico ahead? 2016 Mets legend TJ Rivera, baby. He puts up Puerto Rico temporarily with a solo home run, but this game is destined for extra innings like many others in this tournament. By the 11th, Eddie Rosario manages to muscle a sacrifice fly to center field, walking off the Netherlands and sending Puerto Rico to their 2nd straight WBC Finals appearance, still undefeated. Despite the Netherlands sporting 3 of the top 4 hitters by total hits in this tournament, the offense goes quietly in their semifinal match. Up next is a classic clash of the Titans, as the US takes on Japan with a spot in the tournament final on the line. Facing a strong American lineup, Tomoyuki Sagano allows just 1 run over 6 clean innings for Japan, followed by Kodai Senga, who struck out the side in the 7th inning. Overall in this tournament, Kodai Senga was arguably the best pitcher to take the mound. He pitched 11 innings of 1-run ball, striking out 16 batters to just 1 walk issued. But I did say 1-run ball, and that 1 run would prove very costly. Tied 1-1 in the 8th inning in the steady rain, a slippery ground ball from Adam Jones was enough to bring home the go-ahead run for a U.S. lead. In a pitcher's duel, Luke Gregerson notches another save, sending the United States to their first ever WBC final appearance. Japan gets sent home with a 3rd place finish for the 2nd tournament in a row, and it would be 6 more years before they would climb atop the mountain for the 3rd time. This set up a championship matchup with the United States and Puerto Rico, both teams having very different tournaments up until this point. The US held a 5-2 record, but all but one of those games finished with a margin of 3 runs or less. Conversely, their finals opponent, Puerto Rico, sported a dominant 7-0 record, outscoring their opposition 55-18. Because of this, Puerto Rico came across as the heavy favorites in this matchup. They had the momentum, they had the offense, they had the defense, and they had the charisma. It would be a seismic challenge from Marcus Stroman, who was rocked for 6 consecutive hits to open his last start against Puerto Rico, but this time he would dominate that very same lineup. Marcus Stroman finishes the night with just 2 base runners allowed in 6 scoreless frames. Seth Lugo, who appeared strong at first, surrenders a 2-run homer to Ian Kinsler. This put the US ahead, and they never looked back, scoring 8 unanswered runs against Puerto Rico. Perhaps the only blemish on an iconic tournament is that this final actually ended up being kind of a dud. Puerto Rico disappears in the 2017 WBC Championship, and the US, who faced elimination in every round of play, trounces this team to win their first ever World Baseball Classic, sending Puerto Rico home with a silver medal for the 2nd tournament in a row. It never truly felt like the US's tournament to lose, but in the end, their all-star roster was just too much for these teams to compete with. Marcus Stroman wins MVP honors of the tournament, and rightfully so. He led all World Baseball Classic pitchers with 15 1/3 innings pitched, walking just 2 batters with no home runs allowed. But beyond the American victory, the 2017 World Baseball Classic catapults the tournament into its rightfully deserved significance. Now, in 2026, every baseball fan is excited for the World Baseball Classic, and it's no secret why. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to this tournament specifically in 2017, my favorite of all time. That'll do it for my retrospective on the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Let me know if you learned something, let me know if you also enjoyed this tournament the most, and let me know if you want to see more WBC content as the tournament gets underway in 2026. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and leave a like on the video, and I'll see you guys next time.